Today's topic is divorcees who were married over a decade. What ended your marriage? We stopped being teammates and started feeling like opponents. Letting all the small things get swept under the rug instead of working through them. Ignoring major red flags because of love. We were totally different people after 10 years of growth. I used to pride myself on the fact that my wife and I never fight. And I found myself enduring things that I was unhappy about because I love her. But yeah, sweeping the problems under just made them linger. Resentments build up. Eventually, no matter how strong it is, the dam breaks. And it all comes flowing out. I was amazed at how open my emotions had become, and not just with my wife. I spent my marriage hiding from my feelings to keep the peace, and now I wanted to actually feel something again. After 21 years of marriage, 25 as a couple, she became an alcoholic. Childhood traumas she wouldn't deal with made her become drink dependent for the last 3 years of the marriage and pushed me to breaking point. Mainly because she refused to admit there was a problem. We divorced, which she did everything she could to drag out and make acrimonious. My children, now grown, came and lived with me. She died of liver and multiple organ failure within 4 years of the divorce. While highly stressed at the time, the whole thing makes me sad now. I got tired of seeing our money being spent at the racetrack, treating his friends to drinks at the bar, and he was extremely verbally abusive to me when he drank, and his mistress. We had a real trifecta of reasons. 14 years married, I got the house, and the mortgage. He married the mistress. That marriage lasted 2 years, and then wanted to come home, and he promised he'd do better. By then I was so happy he was gone. I thought it was pretty funny. He didn't appreciate being laughed at. Infidelity. He met a woman through work and started up an extramarital affair. I found out through mutual friends that he got caught cheating on her 3 months after they were married. I wish I had known before I married him that his dad regularly cheated on his mom and his brother regularly cheated on Sil. Family tradition of infidelity. I was dating a woman who hit me once, and, in my stupidity, I told her if it happened again I was gone. Surprise! It happened again. I drove away and never talked to her again, even at work. Point being, if someone's reading this, leave after the first time. Don't look back. Don't believe their lies. Just leave. My wife's and my marriage was pretty good. Not perfect, but divorce didn't cross my mind. She got involved online with a guy she knew from her childhood. She got emotionally entangled and couldn't give it up. 29 years married, and it ended in a matter of months. She's been married to him now for 2 years. I'm now engaged and will be getting married next year. We had children. It triggered his latent avoidant tendencies, and he avoided me for half a decade before I was finally able to drag the truth out of him. He never wanted to be married, never wanted to be a father. He stayed out of obligation and duty, but he was miserable and he took it out on me. Never the kids, just me. You can feel sympathy for someone while also being betrayed on such a fundamental level that you never want to see him again. Sometimes I miss the man I married, but he never really existed. He was a mask for a guy who really ended up being a jerk. It's not working anymore, we are just too different. While this is very true, it wasn't anything new. We were married for 16 years, together for over 20, and had known each other for 31 years by then. She had known me for 15 years when we got married. Oh, it also turned out she was having an affair for at least a year and a half when we signed the papers. So I have a slight hunch that the real reasoning was that she simply found someone better. I had planned to never get divorced. But surprise! I found out 6 months after the fact that he took all our savings and bought a farm. He told me I wasn't welcome there and he might move in with him someday. So divorce it was. I was married for almost 13 years and we got divorced because we just fell out of love and it was time to move on. We were basically just roommates. Was married for 7 years. Worked full-time, went back to school, did all the housework and still found time to be a good father and husband. Eventually the stress broke me. The woman was addicted to sleep and playing on her phone. I guess she thought cooking once a week and sex whenever I wanted would be enough, but turns out stress is a real boner killer. Now our 10-year-old constantly complains about how all her mom does is sleep. Breaks my heart. I know there are underlying issues but she refused to get any kind of help. She left me, male, for another woman. I don't have the parts to compete with that. But, I found out that liking women is another thing we had in common. 20 years. She upgraded to husband 3.0 after years of out-of-control spending. I put my foot down, she hit the road. Fortunately the next guy married her less than 2 years later, getting me out of many remaining years of income equalization. I should really send him Christmas cards. He was nicer to other people, constantly blamed me for his issues, didn't take any accountability and I was over it. I didn't want to live the remainder of life that way. I caught her, somewhere she wasn't supposed to be. I then went home, locked myself in a room with pen and paper, and began plotting my divorce. Exiting the marriage turned out to be one of the best decisions I've ever made in life. My current partner and I have zero trust issues, and we just click. As far as my ex, we will occasionally see her at an annual convention here, trying to take our picture. An old neighbor told me she's being supported by her 70-year-old sugar daddy. Textbook, grew apart. Looking back I realize I married someone whose core values weren't really compatible with mine, but at the time I saw myself as easygoing and adaptable, so figured we could overcome those differences, because love conquers all, right? Spoiler alert, no, it doesn't. In reality I spent 2 decades losing my identity. We both felt very alone in our relationship and ultimately could not repair the distance. After 16 years, my first wife decided she was a lesbian. Of course, she didn't tell me. I didn't know until I walked in on her cheating with her best friend. I was coming in on a red-eye flight, but wasn't feeling well, so I went home instead of to the office. Just so you know, there is life after divorce. I see people say, we had ups and downs like everyone, and that was true in my first marriage. In my second marriage, it's only been UPS. Even when we disagree, there's never anger, just adults discussing differences of opinion. No dates, no vacations, no solo time together, no compliments, no romance. I just slowly over time lost the energy to try to fight for us. I can't live the rest of my life without ever being taken dancing. He descended into schizophrenia and wouldn't seek any help or therapy/medication for it. I didn't know that's what was going on until after I left. I just knew something was terribly wrong. I think divorces are like motorcycle accidents in that there is not one, but a combination of things that without only one or two might happen differently. The moment that truly ended it for me was when my ex-wife was so offended that she screamed at our therapist and accused him of being unprofessional and unethical for saying that we shouldn't get divorced. Her mom wanted to live with us. I said no. She told her daughter to get divorced. Married for 15 years. We weren't right for each other from the beginning, but we had kids and we didn't want to hurt them by getting divorced. I often describe my first marriage as being like a plane that was doomed to crash, and it just took a long time to find a place to put it down gently. I had been taking care of her dad. Her mom had just passed away, and she wasn't handling it well. One day, she comes in with my daughter and says I had been a godsend and she wanted a divorce. She wouldn't give a reason. Apparently, those evenings when she went out with her friends or to see her daughters were actually with her boyfriend. My wife became more and more controlling. In the end, she told me I was going to get an allowance. Mind you, I went to lunch a couple times a week, but not a bar person, so my weekly expenses were less than $100. She wanted to limit me to $20. I was making about $140,000 per year. Oh, and the allowance didn't extend to her. That's only one of the reasons, there were many. After over a decade of supporting her lifestyle of trips, jewelry, and whatever she wanted where she didn't work, and no kids, she wanted to open our relationship. I even gave her that 'cause honestly I wanted more sex, and I didn't have trouble finding it. However, while she was happy seeing other people, she got quite upset when I did. That wasn't bad enough though, she also started lying, or maybe she always lied, but she finally slipped up and I started catching her. Actively getting divorced right at the decade mark because my wife and my best friend decided they were soulmates and decided to blow up both families. After trying to understand how my happy marriage turned into a dime, I believe she's addicted to Adderall and booze but is ultimately covering up some deep, unresolved childhood traumas. It's completely devastating to see two of the most important people in my life completely change and not see my young children half the time. We started being an open marriage and she forgot to tell me. My friends, well, my former best friend and his husband are getting a divorce, which has turned quite nasty. Turns out, my former best friend was in a year-long relationship with another man before, during, and after their wedding. Including the bachelor trip that my wife and I paid thousands of dollars for. Fuck that guy. Not me, but my dad and stepmom. They had to take out a loan at some point due to some trouble my stepbrother got in. Well, about 6 months later, they realized the interest was so high, that the damn thing might as well have been a student loan. I decided to do some digging myself, got them to send me the agreement for the loan, and realized that it specified the loan recipient to be the married couple of X and Y. So when I voiced this, they divorced. Loaners tried to take them to court, and they won. They remarried the day after a judge ruled that the loan was now invalid, as the specified recipient no longer existed. So yes, I can say I helped my dad get divorced to defraud a shitty loan. My life is a shitpost. 23 years here. Ending based on how incompatible we are. We raised our kids and now we are moving on. She asked for a divorce and I wasn't about to fight. She was unhappy it seems, and well, my kids and I don't understand why. She is going to go her way and my daughters are coming with me. Their choice. They should be in college right now, but we're going to be moving after I sell this house. No reason to hang around here. He cheated, lied when confronted, then admitted to it and blamed me for what he did. The irony is the cheating was the least of those 3 offenses in the end. I can get past a one-night hookup. I can't get past lying and not taking responsibility, especially after we had been together 12 years. I developed a sense of self-worth from my career and realized I didn't have to accept being treated like shit at home when I was treated with respect at work. I lost respect for him. I needed someone I could rely on, and that wasn't him. Married for 22 years and the last 10 were pretty much me staying to make him happy. I realized, after a life-changing event, that I couldn't stay just to make him happy. That my happiness, my needs, counted too. While I haven't found that yet, at least I'm trying to and not living my life for someone else. Regret divorce, it was in a moment of madness, nothing in particular, just circumstances and boredom. He was a great person, it was all me, and now I realize I should have worked harder. I really miss him. After 12 years, many things in our life had changed due to kids and buying an old house, but she was unwilling to make the changes needed to keep the relationship healthy. 3 years of therapy and she wouldn't budge on the smallest things. We amicable and the kids are doing great, but don't get married if you're not willing to adapt to the changes in life. You can't just dump it all on one person. It's not quite a decade but almost 9 years. Bought us a home by myself. Did all the work. Everything was all happy. It took me a long time to realize the manipulation and gaslighting. It took therapy and a physiatrist to help me understand my mental conditions that helped me see everything. I started calling her out. Things really went downhill and she drove me to a really bad place. She cheated on me before and I forgave her. Then she was in another relationship towards the end and already had a new rental. Tried to manipulate me again to stay. Crying and the whole bit. I said fine and didn't react. She then proceeded to punch me in the face and that solidified I was done. Also turns out we were never actually legally married and I'm still sorting through that. Be careful out there, folks. Men go to therapy even once a month. It's good to have someone to talk to even if you are happy. You never know. We stopped being partners and started being just roommates. Over time, the affection faded, communication got shorter, and we were just surviving, not living. We both changed, but we didn't grow together. After 14 years, it was less about one big moment and more about a slow, quiet drift that neither of us had the courage to confront until it was too late. There were a lot of things from both of us, but the main one is fertility issues. She was fine with it when she thought it was me, and then went into a deep depression when we found out it was her, which I couldn't pull her out of, and she didn't want to get real help. She lost all ambition and then quit her job while I was working 2 jobs and night school while struggling to pay the mortgage and keep the lights on. We'd been married for 5 years when my wife was accepted at a 4-year university. She quit her full-time job to enroll and I took on a second job to make up the difference. 2 months before graduation, she told me that she had fallen in love with a guy at her part-time job and was leaving me. 16 years down the drain because he couldn't stay off gambling sites. First it was our savings, then my inheritance from mom. Finally he remortgaged our house without telling me. Found out when the foreclosure notice arrived. He didn't support my need to get my mental health under control. I got a life-changing diagnosis and realized that I couldn't talk to him about it, and that was the beginning of the end. It's ending now. After 20 years we just aren't the same people. There is no point in being in a relationship when you never talk, hang out, share hobbies, or even sleep in the same room. Sure, we still love each other on some level, but we are barely even friends. Just kinda wasting life living like this. Going to sleep at different times, doing things separately with different friend groups, sleeping in different rooms, affection and intimacy going to zero, and only one partner fighting for it to work. Now we are very good friends and co-parents. We do holidays, play dates and birthdays together and always have a united front for our kids. Better parents than partners. She had lots of issues caused by her environment growing up. Not all her fault, but it manifested in toxic behavior. I was too naive to recognize it when we were dating. Stayed too long because of the kids. Long story short. We went for therapy. Doc asked to see just her for a while. 6 months later he called me in and said for my mental health I needed to get out of there. It was a brutal divorce. For the last 2 years of our 20-year marriage, the spouse decided to go all out with spending, racking up thousands of dollars in credit card debt and started drinking to excess each night. Attempted discussions around getting therapy and going to rehab always ended in a fight, with attempts to make that nonsense my fault. I finally just gave up.